Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The world has a way of testing you. It will throw distractions in your face, pressure on your shoulders, and doubt into your mind. But none of that has the power to shake you unless you allow it. You have something within you that's deeper than the noise, something stronger than the storm, something more permanent than the temporary troubles outside of you. That something is your peace, not the kind that depends on circumstances or other people, not the kind that shows up only when everything is going right. I'm talking about the kind of peace that lives in the center of who you are, the kind that stands its ground, even when life tries to push you around. See, everybody talks about strength. Strength in numbers, strength in action, strength in voice. But true strength, the kind that lasts, the kind that leads, is quiet. It's not in your fists, it's not in your shout, it's not even in your defense. It's in your stillness, in your ability to stay calm when chaos is tapping on your door. It's in the discipline not to react when people expect you to explode. It's in the control you keep when someone else is losing theirs. Because peace is power. And when you own that power, you stop dancing to every beat the world plays for you. You stop jumping every time something shakes. You realize that the only fight worth having is the fight to protect your center. You ever see someone who's been through the fire and came out looking unburned? Unburned. That's someone who decided that nothing outside of them would ever define what's inside. That's someone who didn't let life steal what it couldn't give, because the world didn't give you your peace. So don't let it take it. You weren't born to live shaken. You were born to stand tall, to walk through the noise without becoming it, to face the pressure without folding under it, to know who you are so clearly that nothing anyone says or does can make you forget it. Doesn't mean you don't feel things. It doesn't mean life doesn't hit you. It means you've trained yourself not to flinch. It means you've learned to breathe when others panic. It means you've built a home inside your soul that nothing can shake. That's not coldness. That's clarity. That's not indifference. That's wisdom. You're not pretending things don't bother you. You're choosing not to let them own you. There's a difference. You can feel it, acknowledge it, and still not give it control. Because the second you hand your peace over to the outside world, you become a puppet. You start reacting to everything. And when you're always reacting, you're never in charge. You've got to protect that space inside you like it's sacred ground. Because it is. Not everyone deserves access. Not every opinion deserves weight. Not every moment deserves your energy. You have to be selective about what you allow in, because what you allow in will shape what comes out. And if you keep letting the noise in, all that peace, all that clarity, all that calm you worked for gets drowned out. You deserve better than that. Your mission is too important. Your presence is too powerful to be shaken by things that don't matter in the long run, so stand firm. Not because the world is easy, but because you've made a decision. A decision not to be moved by every wave. A decision to live from the inside out, not the outside in. A decision to carry peace like armor. Because once you've got that, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone who misunderstands you. You just keep walking. Keep showing up. Keep being unshaken. That's the kind of presence that commands respect without asking for it. That's the kind of strength that speaks before you ever say a word. That's the kind of peace that transforms rooms without making a sound. And when the world sees that, when they see you standing tall in the middle of it all, untouched, undisturbed, they'll wonder how. They'll wonder why. But you'll know it's because you made a choice. A quiet, powerful, deliberate choice to guard your peace like it's gold, because it is. It's the most valuable thing you own in a world that's always trying to take something from you. And once you own that peace, nothing owns you. Purpose is the anchor that keeps you steady when life tries to pull you in every direction. Without it, you move like the wind, changing paths every time something new comes along. Every time someone else has an opinion, every time fear whispers in your ear. But when you know why you're here, when you know where you're walking toward, you don't flinch, you don't fold. You don't get caught up in the noise or the nonsense. You stay grounded because purpose gives you clarity, and clarity gives you power. You don't need to chase every opportunity, every trend, every voice, because you've already chosen your direction. You've already set your feet. See, there's a difference between motion and progress. Some people move a lot, but they don't go anywhere. They run in circles trying to impress, trying to please, trying to figure out who they are by looking at what everyone else is doing. That's not purpose. That's confusion. That's living on the outside, hoping it tells you what's on the inside. But purpose starts from within. It's quiet at first, a whisper, a pull, something deep that tells you this is the thing, this is the reason. And once you recognize it, everything else becomes background noise. The doubt, the delays, the distractions, they all lose power when you know what you're here to do. To do purpose doesn't guarantee the path will be easy. It doesn't mean you won't get tired, but it gives meaning to the struggle. It turns resistance into training. It turns setbacks into setups. When you're walking with purpose, failure isn't final. It's just a lesson. Rejection isn't personal. It's redirection. You stop seeing obstacles as dead ends and start seeing them as detours with a message. And that shift in mindset, that's everything. That's how you keep going when others quit. That's how you stay standing when everything says, sit down, the truth is. Not everyone will understand your purpose. And that's fine. It wasn't meant for them to carry. It wasn't meant for them to validate. It's yours. It's personal. It's sacred. And sometimes when you're living in purpose, you'll walk alone. But that solitude isn't empty. It's full of strength, full of focus, full of the kind of quiet that sharpens your vision. Don't trade that for comfort. Don't trade that for approval. There's too much at stake. There's too much at stake. You weren't put here to blend in. You were put here to break molds, to build something lasting, to walk a path that may not be popular, but is deeply necessary. Every day you wake up, you're either walking toward your purpose or away from it. And it's the small decisions, the everyday choices that tell the truth. Not the big speeches, not the public moments, but the quiet commitments you make when no one's watching. Are you feeding your purpose or are you feeding your fear? Are you chasing what's real or chasing what looks good for the moment? You have to be honest with yourself because purpose doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for intention. Show up, stay consistent, keep building, keep believing, even when the results aren't instant, even when the people around you don't clap. Even when you have to encourage yourself, you've got to protect your purpose like it's treasure. Because it is. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when the weight of your calling feels like too much. That's when you return to your why. That's when you remind yourself who you are, what you've survived, what's burning inside you that won't let you quit. Because when you're aligned with your purpose, even your pain has direction. Even your losses start to look like stepping stones, and there's power in that. There's peace in that. The world could be spinning out, but you're centered because your purpose is bigger than your problems, bigger than your mood, bigger than any temporary setback. Purpose will stretch you. It'll demand things from you that comfort never will. It'll pull you out of what's familiar and into what's necessary, but that's where growth lives. That's where your power is built. And over time, you become someone who doesn't chase purpose. You become purpose in motion. People will see it in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you handle adversity. You'll stop needing to explain yourself because your consistency will do the talking. Your fruit will show it. And that's the kind of life that leaves a mark, not just on people, but on the world. So keep your eyes forward. Keep your feet planted. Let your purpose be the fire that drives you, the compass that guides you, the light that never goes out. Because when you live from that place, from that deep, unshakable knowing of why you're here, you become untouchable. You become undeniable. And no matter what comes your way, you won't just survive it. You'll use it. Every setback, every storm, every silence will become fuel. Because once you know your purpose, you don't just move through life. You move with meaning. There's a certain kind of power that comes from knowing when to stay quiet. It's not about weakness, and it's definitely not about fear. It's about control. It's about choosing your moments instead of wasting your energy. The world is loud. Everybody's got something to say. Everyone's trying to be heard, trying to prove something. But real strength isn't always in the noise. It's in the silence. It's in the discipline to hold your tongue when you want to speak, to keep your peace when everything around you is begging for a reaction. That's a level of maturity most people never reach because silence is uncomfortable. It forces you to deal with yourself. It forces you to listen not just to others, but to your own spirit. And when you really start listening, that's when you find the answers. The art of silence is knowing that not everything requires your voice. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every argument is worth the cost. Because every time you speak, you're spending something. time, energy, emotion, focus. And if you keep spending on things that don't serve you, you end up drained and distracted. You give your peace away in little pieces. But when you master silence, you learn to protect your space. You learn to hold back, not because you're scared, but because you know better. You know some battles aren't worth fighting. Some words aren't worth answering. Some people don't deserve access to your thoughts, your energy, your time. That's wisdom. There's a confidence that comes with silence, too. Because when you don't feel the need to explain yourself, to correct every misunderstanding, to clap back at every critic, you free yourself. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You don't jump every time someone pushes a button. You become still, and stillness is powerful. It's not passive, it's deliberate. It's you saying, I know who I am. I don't need to prove it to anyone. And in a world where people measure themselves by how loud they can be, because when someone can't get a rise out of you, they lose control. They don't know how to deal with someone who doesn't feed their chaos. They don't know how to handle someone who stays calm in the storm. But silence isn't just about how you deal with others. It's about how you connect with yourself. It's the space where clarity lives, where healing happens, where creativity is born. When you turn down the volume of the world, you can finally hear your own voice, not the version shaped by other people's expectations, not the one you perform for the outside, the real one, the quiet truth that sits deep inside you waiting to be heard. And once you hear it, once you start listening to that part of you, everything starts to make sense. You stop chasing answers from people who don't even know who they are. You stop searching for validation in empty places. You start moving differently, with more peace, more focus, more intention. Silence teaches patience too. It shows you how to wait without worry, how to observe without reacting. And in that space, you gain insight. You start to see what others miss. You hear what others are too loud to notice. You become strategic. You learn timing. Because sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about when you say it. And sometimes the greatest statement you can make is no statement at all. Let people assume. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Your actions, your growth, your results will speak loud enough when the time is right. But until then, stay quiet. Stay focused. Let your silence be your strength. There's also peace in silence, a kind of peace you can't buy, can't fake, can't find in distractions. When you learn to sit with yourself without needing noise, without needing validation, you become whole. You stop fearing loneliness. You stop needing to be seen all the time. You become enough, just as you are. And that kind of peace, it radiates. People can feel it when you walk into a room. They can sense it in your presence. Because silence, when it's rooted in peace, speaks volumes. It says you've done the work. You faced your demons. You've looked yourself in the mirror and made peace with what you saw. That's real power. Mastering the art of silence doesn't mean you never speak. It means when you do, people listen. Because they know you're not just talking to fill space. You're speaking with purpose, with clarity, with weight. Your words carry more because you use them less. And when you finally say what needs to be said, it hits different. It lands deeper because it came from a place of stillness, not a place of reaction. It came from truth, not impulse. So when the world gets loud, when emotions run high, when people try to drag you into drama, choose silence, not out of fear, not out of weakness, but out of power. Because in that quiet, you find your center. You hold your ground. You protect your peace. And in doing so, you rise above the noise. Reputation is what people think about you. Character is who you really are. One changes depending on the mood of the crowd, the whispers in the hallway, the latest post online. The other is steady, solid, built over time, tested in private, proven in silence. When you live chasing reputation, you'll always be reaching for approval. You'll twist, shrink, and stretch yourself to fit whatever image you think people want to see. But the second that image doesn't please them, they'll tear it down. That's the danger in living for reputation. It's not in your hands. It can be shaped by lies, rumors, or a single mistake. It can be lifted high one day and dropped the next without warning. But character is yours. It's rooted in your choices, your discipline, your integrity. It's what you do when no one's watching. What you say when there's nothing to gain. How you carry yourself when there's nothing left to prove. People will talk. That's life. They'll celebrate you one moment and question you the next. And if you don't have a strong sense of self, you'll ride that roller coaster until you're dizzy. Up and down, loved and hated, praised and dismissed. But you weren't built to live like that. You were built to stand, to move with a different rhythm. To live from a foundation deeper than opinions. When you prioritize character over reputation, you free yourself. You stop living to impress and start living to impact. You focus less on how things look and more on how they feel, how they align with who you are. It's tempting, though. Tempting to chase the applause. Tempting to say what people want to hear, to show them the version of yourself that keeps the peace, that gets the likes, that avoids the heat. But every time you do that, you trade a piece of your soul for a moment of acceptance, and those trades add up. Before long, you're performing instead of living, pretending instead of standing. That's a heavy way to live, exhausting even. Because no matter how hard you try, someone will always misunderstand you. Someone will always misjudge your actions, twist your intentions, question your choices. You can't stop that. What you can do is choose not to be defined by it. You can choose to live in truth. Not perception. Character means you show up the same whether there's a spotlight or not. It means you don't bend every time the wind shifts. You don't change who you are just because someone else doesn't like it. You stay rooted in values, not trends. You walk with purpose, not popularity. You do the right thing even when it's not the easy thing, even when no one claps, even when it costs you. That's what makes it powerful. That's what builds trust, not the kind built overnight, but the kind built over years. The kind that people feel, not just see, because people can sense real. They may not say it out loud, but they know when someone's authentic. And they know when someone's just performing. There's a quiet strength in character, a calm confidence that doesn't need to explain itself. It speaks without shouting. It holds ground without drawing swords. It leads without asking for attention. That kind of strength intimidates people who rely on reputation alone. Because when someone has character, they don't need a crowd to validate them. They move in silence, and their impact still echoes. That's a different kind of influence, a deeper kind. The kind that changes lives, not just headlines. Reputation might open doors, but character is what keeps you in the room. Reputation might get you applause, but character is what earns respect. Reputation is the image on the surface. Character is the roots underground. And when storms come, and they will, it's the roots that matter. It's the character that holds you in place when reputation takes a hit. Because reputation is fragile. It can be broken with a rumor. But character endures. It rises again. It rebuilds. It remains in a world obsessed with appearance. Be someone grounded in essence. Don't just focus on how things look. Focus on what they're made of. Build a life that's solid, not just shiny. Be the same person in the dark that you are in the light. And let your actions speak louder than your words. Oh, let your consistency write your legacy. Let your integrity lead the way, even if it's a quieter path. Because in the end, it's not the crowd that defines you. It's your core. Not what they say about you, but what you stand for when no one's speaking. And if you hold that line, if you live that truth, then your life will speak for itself. Loudly, clearly, unshakably. Pain is a part of life, but growth is a choice. Everybody experiences hardship. Everybody gets knocked down, but not everybody chooses to get back up stronger. See, pain will come knocking whether you're ready or not. It doesn't wait for a convenient moment. It shows up in betrayal, in loss, in failure, in silence. Sometimes it screams, sometimes it whispers, but it always carries a message. And the people who rise aren't the ones who avoid pain. They're the ones who listen to it, learn from it, and allow it to mold them without letting it break them. Pain has a way of introducing you to yourself. It strips away the fluff, the ego, the noise. It puts you in a space where you have to face what's real. And if you let it, pain will teach you more than comfort ever will. There's a certain beauty in struggle that people miss because they're too focused on escape. Everybody wants the blessing, but nobody wants the burden that comes with it. Growth doesn't happen in soft places. It happens in tension, in resistance, in uncomfortable spaces that force you to stretch beyond who you were. It happens in the moment you want to quit, but don't. In the days you feel unseen, but still keep showing up. That's where growth is born. Not in applause, but in the quiet moments of grit. Pain sharpens your perspective. It humbles you. It slows you down so you can see more clearly. It pulls you into a deeper relationship with yourself, with your purpose, with your values. Because once you've walked through fire, made it out the other side, you don't look at life the same. You don't take peace for granted. You don't chase empty things. You know what matters. You know what lasts. Most people try to numb pain. They run from it, bury it, distract themselves. But what you don't face will follow you. What you ignore will grow. The only way out is through. And the faster you learn to sit with your pain, to understand it, to let it shape you rather than shame you, the stronger you become. That kind of strength isn't loud. It doesn't show up in flexing or boasting. It shows up in resilience, in quiet endurance, in calm confidence, in the way you keep loving even after heartbreak, in the way you keep trying even after failure, in the way you keep believing even after disappointment. That's growth. That's transformation. And that only comes from pain that's been processed, not avoided. There's also a power in owning your pain, not letting it define you, but letting it refine you. When you can talk about your struggle without shame, when you can look at your wounds without hiding them, you take your power back. You stop being a victim of your story and become the author of it. And suddenly, what was meant to break you becomes the very thing that builds you. People will wonder how you stayed kind after the world tried to harden you. They'll wonder how you kept your light after the darkness tried to drown you. But they won't understand. It's not because you avoided pain. It's because you walked through it with purpose. You let it grow you, not define you. Pain will also reveal what's real. Who's really for you? What really matters? When things fall apart, masks come off. And that truth, while painful, is freeing. It gives you the clarity to rebuild on something stronger, more solid, more true. It gives you a new standard. You stop settling. You stop tolerating what you used to excuse. Because pain has taught you the value of peace. It's taught you the cost of your energy. It's shown you who you are when everything else is stripped away. And from that place, you rise. Not pretending to be untouched, but proud of every scar. Because those scars aren't signs of weakness. They're signs that you survived, that you kept going, that you kept believing something better was possible. And here's the thing, your pain isn't just for you. Your story will be someone else's survival guide. Your growth will be the evidence that healing is possible. Someone will hear your journey and find the courage to face their own. That's the gift in choosing growth. It multiplies, it inspires, it breaks chains. So don't be ashamed of your process. Don't hide your healing. Own it. Honor it. Let it be the foundation for everything you build from here forward. You're going to face pain. That's a given. But what you do with it, that's the power you hold. You can stay bitter or get better. You can let it crush you or let it shape you. You can keep running or start rising. It won't be easy. It won't be quick, but it will be worth it. Because when you grow through what you go through, you don't just survive. You become someone who can lead, someone who can love deeper, someone who can live fuller. And in the end, that's the kind of strength the world can't shake. That's the kind of growth that turns pain into purpose and struggle into strength. There is a level of power that comes with knowing who you are and refusing to shrink for anybody. Too often, people walk into rooms and start editing themselves. They adjust their voice, their opinions, their energy just to make other people comfortable. They downplay their intelligence, hide their ambition, or tone down their confidence because they don't want to seem too much. But the truth is, you were never meant to fit into small spaces. You weren't designed to dilute yourself just to be accepted. You were built to stand firm in your identity, to own your presence, to walk with the kind of quiet confidence that doesn't ask for permission. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. That's awareness. That's the understanding that shrinking doesn't serve anybody, not you and not the people around you. When you shrink, you teach the world how to treat you. You tell them without saying a word that your light is negotiable, that your truth is flexible, that your worth depends on their comfort. And once you start doing that, it becomes a pattern. It becomes normal to hide your voice when it gets too loud or hold back your brilliance when it shines too bright. But the danger in shrinking is that you begin to forget what full feels like. You forget the sound of your real voice. You forget how it feels to stand in your truth with both feet planted. And before you know it, you're living a version of yourself that's been trimmed, edited, and packaged to be palatable for people who were never meant to define you in the first place. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your smallness. You don't have to apologize for showing up as your full, powerful, authentic self. Because here's what's real. The people who can't handle your fullness were never meant to hold your future. The ones who are intimidated by your strength, your talent, your energy, they're not your people. And if you keep shrinking to make them comfortable, you'll miss out on the connections, the opportunities, the breakthroughs that were meant for the version of you that's bold, unfiltered, and whole. The right rooms won't require you to compress yourself. The right people won't ask you to dim your light. They'll make space for your presence. They'll honor your truth. They'll celebrate your growth. There's a freedom that comes with walking in your fullness. You stop second guessing. You stop over-explaining. You stop editing yourself for approval. You start trusting your instincts. You start moving with clarity. You start attracting what aligns, not just what's available. And most importantly, you start living a life that's real, a life that reflects your actual values, your real dreams, your true self. That kind of life is powerful. It's rare because most people are performing. Most people are wearing masks. Most people are exhausted from trying to be enough for everybody. But when you stop shrinking, when you start owning your space, you create a different kind of energy. One that speaks before you even open your mouth, but make no mistake. Walking in your fullness comes with resistance. Some people will fall away. Some environments will push back. Not everyone will clap when you choose to be whole. That's okay, let them go. Let them misunderstand you. Let them be uncomfortable. That's not your burden. Your job is not to manage other people's emotions. Your job is to walk in truth. And yes, that takes courage. Yes, it can get lonely, but it's worth it. Because the more you show up as you, the more you align with what's meant for you. The more you stop shrinking, the more life starts to expand. Opportunities start to show up. Real connections begin to happen. Growth becomes inevitable. Your presence is a gift. Your voice matters. Your light has value. And if the room you're in doesn't see that, don't shrink, change the room. If the circle you're in can't handle your truth, don't shrink. Find a new circle. Life is too short to be half of yourself. It's too precious to spend it pretending. The people who are supposed to walk with you will never need you to be less. They'll respect your fullness. They'll value your boundaries. They'll recognize your worth without needing a watered-down version to digest or walk tall. Speak clearly. Stand firm. Don't apologize for your journey, your strength, or your voice. Be who you are without compromise. Because when you show up fully, when you live without shrinking, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror that reflects courage. You create a space where authenticity is welcome. And that's how change begins. Not by shrinking, but by expanding. Not by hiding, but by shining. Not by fitting in, but by standing out with purpose and conviction.